All right. Good morning, everyone, my dear students from grade 10 section of St. Luke, grade 10 section of St. Mark, and of course, grade 10 section of St. Matthew. I hope everyone is doing well. And of course, before we start our session or our online session, please make sure that you have your notebooks or your digital notes ready because I want you to take down some important points later. Okay, as you can see on the screen for today's lesson, we're going to move to another topic. This time, we're going to discuss linguistic context of literary texts. But as early as now, I'd like to tell everyone that we're not going to discuss the entire concept of linguistic concept in a very broad way, no? But instead, we are going to focus on three specific elements only. We have the deictic expressions, the cotext, and collocation. Again, we'll only focus on three specific elements of linguistic context. We have the deictic expressions, cotext, and collocation. Okay? And of course, our main literary text for today's discussion is a very famous poem by Emily Dickinson entitled Because I Could Not Stop for That. No? I want you to remember something throughout our discussion because I'd like you to put this into your mind, dear students. When we read literature, we shouldn't only ask, what does the text say? Lagi ko namang sinasabi sa inyo yan, right? We should also ask instead, how does the language create that meaning? Because sometimes a single word can tell us something about the speaker. Sometimes the word surrounding an expression can change or clarify its meaning. And sometimes the combination of two or more words can create a deeper image or emotion. So today we're going to look closely at the language of a literary text. Okay, so let's begin. Let's proceed to the next slide. Our learning competency, it says, look at your screen there, students. We need to analyze literary text as expression of individual or communal values within linguistic context, focusing on three areas: the deictic expressions, the cotext, and collocation. The important word here, class, is analyze, right? So paulit-ulit, sinasabi ko, when we say analyze, we're not simply identifying something. For example, if I ask what word refers to the speaker, and you will answer I because that's something that you have already learned in lesson number one, right? The persona of the speaker, right? The first POB. Pero nung sinagot niyong that's I, it's only an identification. But if I ask, what does the use of I tell us about the speaker's experience? Then you're already analyzing, no? So our goal for today is not simply find the word, but instead, grade 10, our goal is find the word, explain it, and connect it to meaning. Sa madaling salita, hindi sapat na makita natin lang yung linguistic element ng isang literary piece. But instead, when we found it, kailangan nating ipaliwanag ano ba ang ibig sabihin nito, bakit ito ginamit ng writer, at ano ang epekto nito sa meaning ng text. And yeah, that's what literary analysis is all about. Okay? Now let's proceed to the intended learning outcomes. So at the end of the lesson, I can say, or you have to achieve the following learning outcomes. So number one, I can identify deictic expressions, cotext, and collocations used in a literary text and explain their meanings within the linguistic context. No. Next, number two, analyze how linguistic context contributes to the expression of individual or communal values through linguistic context mapping activities. And last one, produce a coherent linguistic context analysis output that interprets meaning using appropriate textual evidence and literary language. So let's look at our intended learning outcomes, class, no? By the end of the lesson, you should be able to do three things, no? Those three things. But of course, I'd like you to remember na dapat may textual evidence palagi, no? Kapag nag-a-analyze tayo ng literary text, hindi pwedeng puro opinion lang, right? Kaya nga lagi kong sinasabi sa inyo, we have to make our statements always objective and not subjective. Okay? For example, if I say that is presented as peaceful, that's an interpretation. But you need to support it. Instead of saying that is presented as peaceful, you can say that is presented as peaceful because the speaker describes that as having kindly stopped and says that he knew no haste. Later, you will encounter this part, no? Kapag present ko na sa inyo yung literary piece that we're going to use. But ang pinopoint ko lang naman as early as now, I'm giving you the idea na dapat kapag gumagawa tayo ng analysis, dapat meron kang claim plus evidence plus explanation. Ulitin ko dapat daw merong claim, may evidence, at may explanation. So, what do I see? What line supports it o kaliman? And what does that line mean? Laging kompleto para hindi ka maging subjective, hindi ka maging bias only. Okay? So let's proceed now to our literary piece that we're going to read. And this will be used as our springboard for discussion. Okay? The title of the poem is Because I Could Not Stop for That. It is written by Emily Dickinson. So for now, allow me to read it first, no? Let me read this one for you. I hope you will be reading also with your eyes. Read along with me. Because I Could Not Stop for That by Emily Dickinson. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, he knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too, for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess and the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain. We passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us. The Jews drew quivering and chilling. For only gossamer, my gown, my tippet, only tool. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. And of course, the roof was scarcely visible, the cornice and the ground. Since then, the centuries and yet feel shorter than the day. I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity. Again, because I could not stop for that by Emily Dickinson. Okay, let's now let's now explain first this literary text for today's lesson because before we analyze the language, I want us to understand first what the poem is generally about. So don't worry yet about the dialectic expressions, the context, and the collocation. So first, let's understand the poem as a whole. I'm going to read, after I read the poem, okay, we shall now proceed to the discussion about it, no? So we know that the poem is about a speaker who describes that as a person who comes to accompany her on a journey. Instead of death suddenly appearing as something violent or frightening, that is presented as a gentleman or companion who politely stops for the speaker. In other words, the speaker gets into the carriage with that and they travel together. Along the way, they pass different scenes, right? The school where children are playing, the fields of gray, the setting sun, and eventually a house beneath the ground. That house strongly suggests a grave. And at the end of the poem, the speaker realizes that the journey is actually leading toward eternity. So, in a very simple way, the poem presents that as a journey from life toward eternity. So, para mas maintindihan niyo to, explain natin to sa Filipino. So, kung nabasa nyo mabuti yung poem, tungkol ito sa isang speaker na nagkwekwento tungkol sa kanyang paglalakbay kasama yung kamatayan na personified o binigyan ng katangian ng isang tao, if you have noticed that. So sa halip na ipakita yung death bilang isang nakakatakot o marahas na figure, pinakita siya ng writer or ni Dickinson bilang isang kalmado at patient na companion. So nakita naman natin, kasama ng speaker yung death sa isang carriage at naglakbay sila. Dumaan sila sa school, sa fields of grain, sa setting sun. Tapos kalaunan, binanggit dito, yung house na parang nasa ilalim ng lupa na maaaring kumatawan, grade 10, sa grave o libingan. At sa dulo, sinabi ng speaker na yung kanilang direksyon o yung pupuntahan ay patungo sa eternity. So sa madaling salita, yung tula ay maaaring basahin bilang isang journey mula sa buhay patungo sa kamatayan at pagkatapos ay patungo sa eternity. Now, there is something very interesting about this poem, no? Dickinson does not simply say that is scary. In fact, she does almost the opposite. She uses words like kindly stop, slowly drove, and no haste, no? If you're going to look at your screen. So that appears calm. And that's one of the things that makes this poem interesting. And of course, another important point, the poem is not necessarily saying that that is completely positive or happy. But instead, the writer Dickinson presents that in a complex and unusual way. There is calmness, but there is also coldness. There is companionship, but there is also separation from the ordinary life. There is a journey, but we eventually realize that the destination is eternity. So the poem invites us to think about mortality, the passage of time, death, of course, and eternity. So hindi ibig sabihin na sinasabi ng poem na maganda yung death, no? It doesn't look that way, class. Tama na sabihin natin na binibigyan lang ni Dickinson ng unusual perspective yung death. Instead of portraying it only as something terrifying, she presents it as a calm and gradual journey. And of course, that's important because later, when we analyze the language, we will see that Dickinson's choice of words is responsible for creating this interpretation. So now that we understand the general meaning of the poem, let's look at how the language creates that meaning. So our first focus, you look at the screen, is the deictic expressions. So look at your screen. So what are the examples for the deictic expression? So when we say speaker or as a person, my dear students, ang mga example natin dyan ay I. We're referring to I, me, we, my, our, he, us, ourselves. Example yan ng deictic expressions for the speaker or the persona. Kapag naman sa place or position or location, examples are here, there, this, that, before, behind, ahead toward, no? So let's begin with our first focus, which is the dialectic expression. You look at your screen. When we say dialectic expression, these are the expressions that help us identify who is speaking, who is involved, and where people or things are positioned in relation to the speaker. So katulad nga ng nabanggit ko, ang examples for the persons ay I, me, my, we, us, our, he, she, and they. And of course, we also have the expressions na may kinalaman sa place or location or position, such as here, there, this, that, before, behind, ahead, and toward. So for example, if I say I am standing here, we know that I refers to the speaker, right? And here refers to the speaker's location. But if another person says the same sentence, the meaning changes because the speaker has changed. Ulitin ko ha. Kunyari sinabi ko, I am standing here. You know that I refers to me as the speaker. And here refers to my location. But if another person says the same sentence, no? Parehas lang kami ng sinabi, even though parehas lang, the meaning changes because the speaker has changed. So these expressions, class, are connected to the situation in which the language is used. Sa Filipino class, may mga expressions na nagbibigay sa atin ng clue tungkol sa sino ang nagsasalita, sino ang kasama o tinutukoy, nasaan ba yung nagsasalita. And when we use this in literary analysis grade 10, we don't just identify the expression. We ask that the expression reveals about the speaker's perspective. Paano nangyari yon? You look at the next slide, okay? I will give you an example. I walk alone through the forest. That's the example. I walk alone through the forest. You have to ask yourself kapag nag-a-analyze, who is speaking? Is the narrator part of the story? What does the narrator know? Ano yung alam niya? And how does the narrator's position affect the reader? Okay? So again, yung example ko, I walk alone through the forest. But there will be a lot of questions na dapat ninyong i-analyze. So sabi nga, who is speaking? The person saying I. Kaya when you ask, is the speaker part of the experience? The answer is yes. The speaker is describing something that happened to them. And this is important because the speaker's position, class, influences how we receive the story. So if the writer says, for example, she walked alone through the forest, same almost yung message, right? But the perspective changes. Now the person speaking is not necessarily the person who experienced the event. So the choice of I can make an experience feel personal, right? Kapag ginagamit kasi natin yung I, parang directly nating naririnig ang experience ng speaker, right? Parang sinasabi niya, ako mismo yung nakaranas nito. Okay? Kaya at this point, let's bring this to the poem of Dickinson, no? In the poem, if you can remember, we repeatedly encounter yung I, me, tsaka yung my. Lagi nating narinig yan sa poem, no? And of course, later narinig din natin yung we, us, and ourselves. So I'd like to tell you, in the poem, these expressions helps us understand that the poem is being presented from the speaker's personal perspective. The speaker isn't simply telling us about death from a distance, no? If you're going to analyze it, she is describing her own journey. lalong-lalo na nung sinabi niya yung I. Kaya you look at the screen, no? You look at your screen. Here's another example. The example is uh, I stood I stood here, okay, watching the house across the road. The word here tells us where the speaker is, right? And across the road tell us where the house is in relation to the speaker. Ulitin ko, the example is I stood here watching the house across the road. So we know the word here, it tells us the location of the speaker. And of course, yung word na across the road, it tells us kung nasaan yung house in relation to the speaker. So alam natin, because of the presence of here and because of the presence of across the road, it helped us visualize the scene na imagine natin. So, anong ibig sabihin ng class? In literature, I tell you, grade 10, spatial expressions can also help us understand the speaker's relationship to a place or spatial expression for some. So, example, sinabi ko, this house is my home. Ulitin ko ha, this house is my home. The word this creates a sense of not just ownership, but a sense of closeness, right? Pero pag sinabing, that house scares me, the word that can create distance. 'Di ba? So mahalaga talaga yung speaker pati yung location. So tingnan natin yung poem ni Dickinson. Alam natin, Dickinson doesn't heavily use simple words like here and here or there in the poem. Ano yung ginamit niya, no? She gives us expression of movement and possession. May mga possession na exactly binigay ni Dickinson in the poem. For example, we pass the school, we pass the fields, we pass the setting sun. Then, we pause before a house. Tapos, sinabi din ni Dickinson, and finally, we're toward eternity. So, even though, class, we're not simply identifying words like here or there, we're analyzing how these expressions establish the speaker's movement through space. Ibig sabihin lang, class, yung mga expression tungkol sa place at movement tumutulong sa atin yan na makita sa isip natin yung journey ng speaker. That journey actually becomes meaningful because the places seem to move from familiar life towards death and eternity. So, napakahalaga talaga nung dialectic expression for place and for the speaker. Okay? So, let's analyze the poem now. Okay? Tingnan natin mabuti. Look at your slide. Let's now talk about the deictic expressions in Dickinson's poem. Let's analyze now the actual poem. Look at the first two lines. The first two lines is, because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. You may ask, who is I? The speaker is the speaker, right? Who is me? Also the speaker, right? Kung titingnan ninyo, ulitin ko ha, pag tinanong nyo, who is I in the line, alam natin that is the speaker, right? And also, who is he? It's the speaker, no? But this, me, not he. Who is me? That's the speaker. Meron ding binanggit dyan na he. Who is he? Okay? Who is he kaya dyan? He here is death. Okay? We see something interesting in this part, no? Death is referred uh, in using he. Okay? A human pronoun. Kaya nga sabi natin kanina earlier, we can conclude that in the poem, may personification yung death. Alam natin that is not a person, but in the poem, it was personified, no? Now look at another example. Sabi sa poem, The carriage held but just ourselves. The word ourselves tells us that the carriage contains the speaker and depth. And then look at the slide. Sabi dyan, we slowly drove. The word we brings the two together. Kaya the expressions I, me, ourselves, and we, they all help establish the relationship between the speaker and the deaf. Now let's look at the places. Binanggit dyan yung school, yung fields, yung setting sun, yung house, and yung eternity. This time, the speaker is being taken through series or sequence of locations, right? So, in other words, my dear students, the didactic expressions related to participants and movement help us understand that this is not just a description, okay? It is a personal journey. Makikita natin class, yung speaker kasi, kung sino yung kasama niya, kung paano sila gumagalaw mula sa isang lugar patungo sa iba pa. And of course, yung paggalaw na yon, that movement contributes to the poem's deeper meaning. Okay? So, that's how we analyze the poem. Ngayon, tingnan natin class. This is the last part for the didactic expression. We're almost done with the first part of our lesson. Okay? So, let's look at this one. Let's summarize our first part. What do these didactic expressions reveal? So first, alam natin, pag sinabi nating didactic expression, they establish the poem as a personal experience. The use of I, the use of me, the use of my replaces the speaker as the center of our journey, right? And of course, they establish a relationship also between the speaker and deaf. Yung paggamit ng he, we, us, ourselves, it shows that death is not simply an abstract idea. Death becomes a companion in the journey, and it's the expression of movements as well, and plays show progression. So kaya nga, ang daming lugar, di ba, na binanggit from the poem. Kasi tumutulong ito para ipakita yung personal na experience ng speaker, pati yung gradual na movement mula sa buhay patungo sa eternity. Okay? That's our first focus. Let's before we move to our second focus, I'd like you to type in the word didactic expressions dun sa comment section, plus kung anong oras ngayon nyo napapanood ito. Ulitin ko, for the first attendance, I'd like you to type in the word didactic expression plus yung oras natin ngayon. Okay, pakitype na po. I hope didactic expression is uh, clear to everyone. Punta naman tayo sa next one, co-text. So what is co-text, class? So look at the screen. Co-text refers to the words, phrases, sentences, and ideas surrounding a particular expression that help determine its meaning. So look at the example. Example, the bank was crowded with customers. Another example, we sat on the bank and watch the river. So sabi natin sa definition, it refers to the words and ideas surrounding a particular expression. So for the first example, the bank was crowded with customer. Alam natin that the bank refers to a financial institution. But another example, we sat on the bank and watched the river. Now, alam natin, bank here refers to the land beside the river. So, anong ibig sabihin ng co-text? Same word, different meaning. Yun yung tinatawag nating co-text. Same word, different meaning. What help us? The surrounding language. Pag sinabi nating surrounding language, yun yung co-text, no? So when analyzing co-text, alam natin, dapat titingnan natin what words comes before it, what words come after it, what actions are connected to it, and what descriptions surround it, or what ideas are being developed. So sa Filipino class, yung co-text parang linguistic surroundings ng isang word or expression. Hindi lang natin titingnan yung isang word na mag-isa. Kasi pag mag-isa, mo lang siyang tiningnan, kung paano mo siya naintindihan naturally, yun yung meaning para sa'yo. May mga words nga, di ba, na mayroong ibang meaning. Kaya titingnan natin ito kung paano ginamit kasama yung iba pang words, katulad nga ng expression. So alam natin, normally, bank is all about, it's a financial institution. Pero look at the second sentence. We sat on the bank and watched the river. Ha? Hindi mo naman sasabihin na, ba't nagkaroon ng ilog sa bangko? Kaya mahalaga na tingnan mo rin yung mga words na nakapalibot sa salitang familiar sa'yo. That is what we call co-text. Okay? So look at this one. Paano ba natin nakla-clarify yung meanings kapag co-text? So alam natin, we should know, I mean, that co-text is very useful because literary writers do not always directly explain everything. Di ba yung mga writers sobrang lalalim nila, they don't literally explain us everything. For example, I have here a sentence. Maria lowered her head and quietly walked away. Maria lowered her head and quietly walked away. Hindi naman sinabi ng writer na Maria was sad, right? Pero alam natin, because of the words na nakapalibot kay Maria, we can suggest that she is sad because there is sadness, there is embarrassment, or there is disappointment, or there is shame. So, in other words, class, we interpret based on the language surrounding the action. Kaya dapat, you're very analytical, you're very observant sa mga words na nakapaligid sa bawat isa. And this is exactly what we do in literary analysis class. We look at the clues. For example, lowered her head, quietly walk away. So alam natin na nakakontribute ito na expressions para sa ating interpretation. Kaya nga sabi, di ba, hindi sinabing ng writer yung emosyon, hindi nila binabanggit talaga directly. But instead, my dear students, gumagamit sila ng different actions and descriptions. Kaya dapat, as a writer, mas lalo tayong maging attentive, no? Kaya you have to ask ourselves, what does the surrounding language tell me? Okay? Kaya kapag tinignan mo pa yung other parts of the sentence, you would understand the mood, the character, the relationships, the ideas, and even the themes or yung tema ng ating yung tema nung binabasa natin. Okay? So let's dig deeper on the word context. Okay? Tingnan natin to. Let's have another example. The example on your screen is the old house stood silently beneath the dark sky. Its broken windows and empty rooms seem to remember the people who once lived there. So let's examine this example. What are the words? We have old house, silently, dark sky, broken windows, empty rooms, people who once lived there. So what kind of mood do these words create? Sige nga, you type in your answer in the comment section as our second attendance. What do you think is the mood evident in the example that you can see on your screen? The old house stood silently beneath the dark sky. Its broken windows and empty room seem to remember the people who once lived there. So you look at it, type in your answer. Sige. All right. So what do you think is the answer? Probably it's related to sadness, loneliness, o kaliman, pwedeng mystery. And kapag may mystery, pwede ring fear, right? But notice that the writer did not simply say the house is lonely or the house was sad. But instead, yung context, yung mga words na nakapalibot sa sentence, it created that impression. The surrounding words allow us, a class, to interpret the scene. So, in other words, grade 10, context helps us understand meaning beyond the dictionary definition. So hindi lang literal yung meaning na tinitingnan natin. We examine how the surrounding language creates an emotional or symbolic meaning. Kaya tingnan natin yung poem ulit ni Dickinson. Let's look at the context in Dickinson's poem. Meron kaya? Definitely meron, no? Let's apply context to the poem. Let's have the first example. He kindly stopped for me. The word kindly is surrounded by language that presents that as someone who stops for the speaker. So instead of immediately imagining that as as violent or frightening, we get an image of someone who is courteous, no? Hindi masyadong violente yung death sa poem. Kaya ang sabi diyan, death appears courteous and gentle. Okay? Look at the next slide. Look at the next bold part. We slowly drove and he knew no haze. So what are the words? Slowly and no haze. Reinforce the same idea, class. It's not rush, right? It's not rush. In other words, kalmado lang. Okay? Calm, unhurried journey. Now look at the next sentence. The Jews drew quivering and chill. Ano yung ibig sabihin ng words na quivering? The words quivering and chill creates a colder and more comfortable atmosphere. Okay? Next one. Gossamer, my gown, my tippet, only two. So we know here that the speaker is wearing very light and delicate clothing. So kung titingnan natin, class, the surrounding language makes us feel the coldness of the environment. So alam natin na yung context, pag sinabi natin context, it can help us understand the development of the literary pieces mood. So, ulitin ko ha, kaya kapag nagbabasa kayo, dear students, ng poem or ng any literary piece, wag lang kayong nakafocus sa isang word. You look at the interconnectedness of every word because that's what we call context. Okay? Sige po. Punta na tayo sa next one. Okay? Let's now proceed to what we call collocation. I'm pretty sure you're already aware with collocation because under Mampomer, you have learned it already, collocation, di ba? So, let's define what is collocation. So, look at your screen. Collocation refers to words that naturally or meaningfully occur together. So, for example, make a decision, heavy rain, strong wind, deep sleep, broken heart. We know normally hear this one, right? I know these combinations are familiar to us. So we expect these words to occur together. Pero in literature, writers can also create unusual or should I say striking combinations. And of course, pag sinabi nating mga combinations na to, nakaka-contribute ito to the meaning of the text. Example, The word broken heart. Okay? The heart is not literally broken, right? Pero the combination creates a strong emotional meaning. Kaya when we analyze collocation, we ask, why did the writer choose these words together? What image does it create? And what emotion, what mood, what idea meron doon sa salitang yon? So, alam natin sa Filipino, yung collocation or kolokasyon, tungkol ito sa meaning na nabubuo kapag pinagsama ang particular words. So we don't simply examine individual words. We examine their relationship. So look at the next slide. Look, the example is heavy rain. No? It's very natural for us. No? The word is heavy rain. Uh, it's something that we commonly use it. Eh paano kung sinabi kong heavy sunshine? Okay? Meron bang word na heavy sunshine? We can understand it. Heavy sunshine. Alam natin sobrang init. But it's less expected, right? Hindi natin ginagamit madalas yung heavy sunshine. Manapa yung heavy rain. Another, we have the word whispering darkness. So that's very poetic, right? Darkness doesn't literally whisper, but the combination creates an image. It can suggest mystery, there is fear, there is silence, or there is secrecy. So, in other words, class, when writers use unusual combinations, we shouldn't immediately think that they're wrong. Hindi, baka akala kasi natin mali agad sila. But instead, baka ginamit nila yung combination of words na yon para mag-create ng literary effect. So, hindi mo siya titingnan literally, but titingnan mo siya figuratively. Kaya nga ang sabi, kapag nagko-combine ka ng words, ang sagot na dapat mong makuha ay mula sa tanong na ano yung kayang gustong iparamdam ng writer. Maybe the writer wants us to imagine something. Maybe the writer wants us to create a particular mood. Or maybe the unusual combination supports a symbol or theme. That is why, my dear students, collocation is important in literary analysis. Okay? So look at the next slide. We're down to the last four slide. Let's look at this example. Look at this on the cursor. The lonely road stretched beneath the silent moon. The lonely road stretched beneath the silent moon. So what combination do you notice? May mga combination kayong nakita, right? Lonely road and of course, silent moon. So what combinations uh, or what is the meaning of these combinations, no? So we know a road can literally feel lonely, and the moon doesn't literally choose to be silent. Pero yung combinations na to, class, they created a particular atmosphere. So what do you feel? Maybe loneliness, maybe sadness, maybe isolation, maybe mystery. In other words, the writer's word choices work together to create that effect. Kaya yung bawat word may sariling meaning. Kaya pag pinagsama sila, mas nagiging powerful yung overall meaning. At iyan naman yung ibig sabihin ng collocation. So let's try to examine the poem of Dickinson. Look at the poem again from, let's return to the poem of Dickinson. Ano yung mga words na pinag-combine niya? Kindly stop. Interesting to, class, kasi the person being described as kind is that, right? So the combination makes that seem gentle and courteous. Another, slowly drove. Okay? It's a combination that created the image of gradual and peaceful movement. Another word, no haze. It means there is no rushing, that death appears to be patient. Another is gazing grain. Can grain literally graze? Of course not, 'di ba? 'Di ba? But Dickinson gives the grain a human-like quality, like it makes the field seems almost alive. And of course, setting sun, it's about the image of the sun going down. Pero within this poem, hindi naman ito tungkol sa sunset. It suggests the ending of life, perhaps, no? So another one is quivering and chill. These words create a cold and unsettling atmosphere, right? And finally, swelling of the ground. Di naman namamaga yung lupa, right? But of course, we know that uh, it's about giving us an indirect description that the house appears to be part of the ground. So in other words, it's about the grave. It's about the libigan. So makikita natin carefully na yung words na mga ito, hindi lang siya basta random combinations, class. So sa collocation, it's not just about the combination of words, but they help build imagery, they help build mood, they help build symbolism, and even meaning. Okay? For the third attendance, may I invite you to write the word collocation plus the time today. I'm going to repeat the word collocation and of course the the time right now. Okay? So we're done with the three points of discussion. So again, don't forget the meaning of deictic, no? The context and collocation. Ulitin ko, no? Pag sinabi nating deictic expression, ang sinasagot natin ay ang tanong na who and the where. Sino ang nagsasalita? Nasaan ang nagsasalita? No? Where are they positioned? Yun yung ibig sabihin ng deictic expression. Pag sinabi naman nating context, hindi natin titingnan yung isang salita, but all the words in the sentence, in the text, we should make connection para malaman natin na iba pala ang meaning ng salita na to, not the usual meaning at the top of your mind. At kapag sinabi naman natin collocation, we combine two words, no? Pero hindi lang natin siya pinagko-combine, but we combine the two words, my dear students, para magbigay ng meaning, ng mas kakaibang meaning. Okay? So, my dear students, I hope that when you read another poem, short story, or literary text, you will not just read the words, but you observe them, you question them, you connect them, and of course, most importantly, use them as an evidence. Okay? Again, this is lesson number 3, the linguistic context of literary text, the deictic expressions, the context, and collocation. Thank you for listening, everyone. See you in our next discussion. Have a great day, everyone. Maraming salamat. And for the last attendance, write your name, your section, and the time right now. Again, thank you very much at mag-iingat kayo palagi. Salamat po.